Good afternoon, this is Shaman Oracle reading, and today I like to finish up with the planets in how the planets affect the zodiac signs. So today we talk about Saturn. Saturn is the planet of responsibility and symbolizes the ethic of hard work. Saturn strengthens a person's character through trial and difficulty. It is said that Saturn is giving us trials and difficulties until we have learned all our lessons. Are you able to stick with a task until you have completed it? Do you at times feel beset by problems or see obstacles at every turn? Do other people call you stubborn? Have you sometimes felt lonely or depressed? If you say yes, then you have felt the presence of Saturn in your life. The planet got named after the Roman Titan god who was the father of Jupiter, Neptune, and Pluto. Saturn was also a symbol for Father Time, for he brought to an end all things that had a beginning. In astrology, Saturn is the planet of diligence, self-control, and limitation. Saturn rules patience, stability, maturity, and realism. Saturn's influence is stern and restrictive, cold and severe. Saturn is called the celestial taskmaster, for it teaches us the lessons we must learn in life. In the grand plan of the universe, Saturn does not give us more than we can handle. Under Saturn's influence, we achieve by overcoming obstacles and hardships. Sometimes the effort itself is the reward, for effort is what builds character. And in the end, what we learn under Saturn's influence, we keep for the rest of our lives. Saturn's position in your chart indicates how well you accept responsibility and whether you are self-disciplined and what delays in opposition you can expect to encounter. Saturn's effect is to delay rewards until they are earned. It perfects human nature while it bestows an ability to wait. It is the planet of courage, steadfastness, and integrity. Saturn is not to be feared, so don't shrink from accepting its burden. Most of our strength and satisfaction comes from triumphing over obstacles. As a negative influence, Saturn can make a person overly ambitious, calculating, and even selfish, also solitary, inhibited, and unhappy. Its negative influence is associated with inflexibility, missing humor, and pessimism. Saturn is also linked to illness, handicaps, and misfortune. Keep in mind, however, that Saturn's influence is only one of many influences in a chart, so it might not feel that overwhelming to you anyway. Seen as a symbol, Saturn is our destiny. It rules fate, the things we cannot escape, and the payment we must make for all things we receive. There's an astronomical look at Saturn. Until the end of the 18th century, Saturn was the most remote planet in our solar system. It is the sixth planet from the Sun, over 887 million miles away, almost twice as from the Sun as Jupiter is. Saturn is a large planet, second only to Jupiter, measuring over 75,000 miles at its equator compared to the Earth's 8,000 miles. Saturn moves very slowly around the Sun, taking 29.5 years to complete one orbit. For such a large planet, it spins with great velocity on its own axis. A day on Saturn is only 10 hours and 14 minutes. To the ordinary observer here on Earth, Saturn shines with a steady yellowish light, rather dim compared to brilliant Jupiter. In ancient days, Saturn was considered the least interesting planet of them all, since it does not have Venus's soft luminosity or Mars's red color or Jupiter's radiance. The ancients were wrong about Saturn's lack of interest as a celestial body. We only recently discovered that Saturn is a multi-hued planet with bands of yellow, golden brown, and reddish brown on its surface. Saturn is now considered our most interesting planet because of its dramatic rings. These rings were once thought to be unique in our solar system, but we now know that Saturn is not only a planet that has rings. Jupiter has dusty rings around it. There are 9 dark rings around Uranus, and there are 5 rings around Neptune. The planet Saturn's bright and dark rings that circle the planet was first seen by Galileo in 1610 through his telescope. Until 1969, astronomers believed there were only 3 rings, but in that year a 4th ring was discovered, shortly followed by a 5th and a 6th ring. Then in November 1980, a space probe sent back to Earth pictures of this astronomical wonder that went far beyond our imagination. There were not 6, but thousands of separate ringlets to be seen. Photographs showed there are rings within rings like concentric ripples in a cosmic pond. Based on these photographs, astronomers believe that the particles that make up these rings are primarily ice, mostly the size of snowballs or ice, each 500 miles long and twined into a gigantic braid. A spacecraft reported in August of 1981 that a cloud of gases circling the planet is 300 times hotter than the sun's corona. This is the hottest spot ever detected in the solar system. Astronomers are continuing to study the complex and mind-boggling, as one expressed it, data that our space probes are giving us about this spectacular planet. So, maybe I should know that the book that I have the information from was also published already in the 1990s. So things might have even developed further, but it's still interesting, I think. So take it from there, okay? So that was Saturn. Next one comes up is Uranus. I'm right back. See you back then.